Here we go again. It's facts are your friends. Let's do it. Oh, jeez. All right, today we are talking about how to find a therapist. How to find a therapist. We've talked about this on the show before, and it continues to be one of the most common questions we get. How do I find a counselor? How to find a therapist? How to find a social worker? What's the difference? All that kind of stuff, okay? So we're going to talk about how to find the right therapist. I'm going to give you a couple of bullet points here that you can follow. Pull out a pen and a paper, write this stuff down. So here we go. Number one, I want to define what they are and what they are not, okay? So when you think of mental health professional, you can start with your local doctor. And your regular doctor, your primary care physician is going to get a couple of classes on mental health stuff, on psychiatric stuff. They're not going to usually get classes on how to deal with trauma. In fact, almost never. On how to sit with somebody over a long period of time. I will tell you, the first time I went to go get help, I went and met with a medical doctor, but he was a buddy, so I had a relationship with him. And remember the word relationship, because that's going to be really important. A psychiatrist is a medical doctor. Okay, that's a medical doctor who goes to med school and then goes on to specialize in psychiatric care, mental health issues. I'm sad to say that most psychiatry nowadays is entirely medicine-based. It's entirely biological. Very few classes, if any, on therapy, on sitting with somebody. It's all moved to managed care, get you in, hear your X number of symptoms, give you a diagnosis out of the ICD-10 codes or out of the DSM, and then get you on, get you meds, and get you out of here, okay? Psychiatry, I think, can be used great as an adjunct to counseling care. And most of the research suggests that you need to have, that medicine works in conjunction with counseling, some sort of talk therapy or some sort of action therapy. But that's where some people start, okay? Some people start there. A psychologist is the next rung, if you will, in the hierarchy. So if you look at mental health professionals, there's a hierarchy there, whether we want there to be one or not. And it's psychiatrists, which are medical doctors. And then there's a psychologist. Psychologists go to get a graduate degree. You got to have a PhD or a PsyD to be called a clinical psychologist. And they are trained usually from research, more research-based. They've got to do research. They have to do studies. They're going to be more clinical in their approach, more typologies. And again, I'm speaking broadly and generally. Beneath that, depending on which state you are in, it might be counselor. It might be a marriage and family therapist. It might be a social worker, licensed clinical social worker. And there's social workers that are licensed to sit with people. They can do diagnosis. They can refer you out to psychiatrists. And then there's social workers that are to help you navigate complex systems like a medical system or the legal system or whatever. So I'm talking about licensed clinical social workers. At the end of the day, the research tells me that the most important thing is not the modality, not the degree of a licensed mental health professional. It's the rapport between the patient, the client, and the mental health professional. How you feel interacting with this person. Now, I was thinking about this when I was writing these notes out for this. Two of the most amazing therapists that I refer to a lot, whose wisdom guides a lot of what I do, are Esther Perel and Terrence Real. Neither of them have PhDs. Neither of them are Dr. Perel or Dr. Real. And they're amazing. My therapist, the person I go to, I know they don't have a PhD. I know they're not a doctor so-and-so, and I don't know what their clinical licensure is in. I actually don't know. I know they're one of the most respected and extraordinary counselors in the United States, and I was really fortunate that she would take me on. But I don't even know what her clinical licensure is. That's how little I care about that kind of crap. Also, Gabor Mate, who you hear me talk about a lot, he's a medical doctor. Not a psychiatrist, but a medical doctor. So all that to say is, and I have 2 PhDs, and I'm seeing somebody who's not a PhD. All that I want you to hear me say, I don't care. It's about when you meet with this person, do you click? And here's how I know if I click. can I or will I tell this person the truth? Most of us have an innate sense that this person in front of us is not safe or they are safe. Doesn't mean it's not going to be uncomfortable. It's not going to be weird. But can I tell them the truth? Will I tell them the truth? If you sit down in front of somebody and your guard immediately goes up, you're wasting your time, you're wasting their time, you're wasting your money. Because if you're not going to tell the truth, then they can't help you. It's like going to the doctor and not telling them that your foot is really, really hurting and instead tell them you got a headache. It's not going to help. They're never going to get you the x-rays that you need to get your care, okay? So the most important thing is the relationship with your therapist. Can you tell the truth? If you need meds, if you think you need meds, you can start anywhere with any of these folks, and they will let you know, we've tried some things for a few weeks. I think it's best to refer you out to your doctor or to a psychiatrist, and they will have lists of people they can refer you out to, okay? So, and one more quick side note here. Life coaches. Here's my thought on life coaches. I actually have one of those too. And I know that that's a lot. I've got a life coach and having a therapist. I don't go to my life coach, the person I sit with. His name's Justin McRoberts. He's amazing. I don't go to him with childhood traumas. I don't go to him with really deep structural marriage issues when my wife and I are struggling. I don't go to him with like parenting challenges. I go to him when I have a specific problem that I need to solve that I'm struggling with, like my calendar, like feeling sensitive all the time when people give me feedback at work, like when I've got 4 or 5 people at work all telling me the same thing, but I think I'm right. He provides a mirror for me and is able to say things more directly often than a counselor will. It's what a coach is. Coaches give you advice, not always, but more so than a therapist will. I am technically not licensed. I intentionally did not get licensed in the state of Tennessee because I didn't want to spend my whole career fighting grenades that people are throwing for licensure. So life coaches can get certified in their particular thing, but not all of them have licenses and stuff. It's great. I take specific issues like boundaries, work challenges, etc. for life coaching. So if you're working through like a particular issue, call a life coach, man. It's easier to get in sometimes. They can be less expensive sometimes, depending on who you call. Sometimes they can be extraordinarily expensive. But I don't have a problem at all. In fact, I employ one. And if you want to check out Justin McRoberts, he's the guy that I work with, and he's amazing. He's out of California, and we do it virtually, and it's awesome. All right, so how to find the right therapist. All right, number one, I hate that I have to start here, but this is the world we're in right now. I hate that I have to start here. Figure out your finances. Usually it's going to be between $75 and $250 an hour. Sometimes a little bit less if they're on a sliding scale, sometimes more. Sliding scale simply means you're a teacher, you make $42,000 a year, and they are going to slide their rates down and make you will pay less than somebody who makes $100,000 a year might have to pay full freight. Great. I'm 100% on board with sliding scale stuff. Okay. Psychiatrists can be considerably more expensive, $400 or $500 an hour. Sometimes testing is thousands of dollars. It just depends on what you need. If you've got cash pay, many therapists have moved to cash pay, usually because their books are full. They don't have to deal with insurance. They can just say, hey, I cost $150 an hour. People write them a check and they'll move on. If you can afford to do that, great. That's where I would start. One side note, you can pay with cash and you can say, like I do with my counselors, I do not want any diagnosis in any records. So they don't. And I'm paying with cash. If you have insurance, if you are going through your insurance, often insurance will require a diagnosis to reimburse the therapist. So they have to put something down. So if you got cash pay, start there. If you need to run it through your insurance, great. My wife has done that. No big deal at all. No big deal at all. Run it through your insurance, and you can often find a list of practitioners in your area. Okay. Now, finding practitioners is hard. There is a shortage nationwide. It just is. That's not an excuse to give up if you need to talk to somebody. Okay. It's not an excuse. You need to know how much things will cost before you go. And by the way, no therapist should be upselling you things or giving you packages on things, or that should never happen. Okay. That should never, ever happen. And a therapist's job should be to work themselves out of a job with you. Their job is not to counsel you for eternity. Their job is to help you in the healing process, to walk alongside you, okay? If you are struggling to find somebody, a group, and I know they sponsor the show, so there you go. But BetterHelp has been extraordinary to folks who were peripheral to the Nashville shooting. That's who I referred them to, got them a code for BetterHelp, okay? So I have full trust there. I refer people that I care about and love to BetterHelp, no problem at all. And their promise is they will see you within 24, 48 hours, okay? Dealing with deep trauma, online therapy, or talking on the phone therapy might not be the best long-term, but man, it's a great place to get you going, okay? So, number 2, after you've dealt with the finances, what you can afford, how you can work that thing, have an idea as to what you want to talk about. Have some sort of direction, okay? I'm ready to stop being so angry. I want to be a more present mom. I want to be a better dad than my dad. I don't even know where to start. I just keep crying all the time. Everyone around me is telling me that I'm depressed. They keep asking me if I'm depressed. I don't think I am, but it's time for me to talk to somebody, get a third party who's neutral on this deal, okay? More than likely, you're going to be wrong in what you think is going on. I can't tell you the number of times I've gone in and been like, hey, I need to talk about X, and within an hour, we are not talking about X. We are talking about Y. X is simply a symptom of Y, and A, B, and C, and D, and E, and F, and G, right? But have some sort of direction. If you plop down on the couch and you look at the therapist and say, fix me, it's not going to work. Good therapists can work with that because they're good, but man, it really helps to sit down and say, I'm ready to stop hurting. I am in the last stages of my life and I want to have as much joy as possible. I just lost somebody that was my heartbeat and I can't breathe. Can you help me with the grief? And so have some sort of direction there, okay? And I want to reiterate this. You got to tell the truth. You got to tell the truth. They teach us in Counseling 101 classes, your clients will lie to you. Your clients will lie to you. Don't lie. If you're going to go and you're going to pay the money, tell the truth. I slept with this many people. I hooked up with my boss's secretary and it's going to blow my marriage up. I hit my kid. Go tell the truth, okay? All right. Number 3, where should you look? Okay. Number 1, check the internet in your local area. That's the easiest way, okay? And there are waiting lists all over the country. Get on them. Get on the waiting list. Just like your barber who books 4 months out or 3 months out, whatever, get on the waiting list. You never know when you're going to get a call, okay? So number 1, get on a waiting list. If 4 or 5 or 6 people are like, dude, you got to go see Jenna. You got to go see Jenna. You got to go see Jenna. And you call Jenna and says, hey, I'm not taking any clients now, but I got a waiting list. Get on it. Go ahead and get on it. Why not? Right? Why not? But don't stop there. After you've checked your local internet, if you check the internet in your local area, ask friends, families, or coworkers. Listen, you are worth being well. So unless you're in an abusive situation or somebody that's going to take advantage of you for finding out that you're going to a counselor, I let folks know. I see somebody, and I got a coach. My wife sees somebody. We will see somebody together. It's fine. It's great. It's healthy. It's good. Most of the people I know who do hard things and have hard things in their past need to go do the work. They need to do the work, okay? Let people know. More often than not, somebody will be like, hey, you should go see my person. They're great, okay? Also, if you live in a community with a local university, call and find out. In West Texas, where I just was, the local university, there was a counseling program, an addiction counseling program, a marriage and family therapy program, a psychology program. The medical school has a counseling program. All of them have things called clinics. The clinics are where graduate students see clients for free or for very, very reduced rates. And before you go, I'm not seeing no student. I was a student. That's where I saw clients. And so my colleagues were great. It's a great place to go. And if you go see a graduate student, you're getting the benefit of not only the graduate student, but of often 1 or 2 professors. So people with extensive experience. And so sometimes you get a benefit of 2 or 3 therapists for the price of a quarter of one, right? It can be an amazing resource. So if you live in a local community, check out the clinics of the mental health programs at the local university. It's a great way to get in and see somebody. And you can also provide feedback. It's just awesome. There's also local family counseling services that are designed for folks who have no money or very, very little money. It's where I did one of my internships, my practicums, and I loved it. I loved it. It's a great place to meet folks all over the spectrum who are struggling with things, and also people who had plenty of money that I got to help. So check out local family counseling services or counseling resources in your area as well. And then also there's church services. I do have a bias. And so this is just me. There are good, well-meaning ministers that are not trained that will often talk to folks. And unfortunately, I've had a career of people coming to me and being like, hey, man, I went and saw my pastor and they said X and Y and Z. And I just go, oh my gosh, I cannot believe they said that. So I do have a bias against sprinting out that way. I implore you, if you're a pastor or a minister, you have to know when you're over your head. You have to not look at people and say, well, if you just prayed harder, or Jesus tells you don't be anxious. So that's not helpful. And in fact, that hurts people. Don't be that pastor. Don't be that minister. There's tons of pastoral counselor training that you can go get that will make you incredibly effective. And I hope that everyone who has the courage to sit with somebody who's hurting will go through the proper training there. Okay. So that's basically, here's the other one. Call BetterHelp, man. Call online service. They will get you in within 24, 48 hours if you're just stuck. Again, it's not often, you're not going to do this forever and ever and ever. Amen. But man, it can be a great resource when you finally get the courage up to say, okay, I'm going. Last thing I want to pass along here. Go 3 to 4 times before you decide to switch a therapist, okay? The first time should be a nervous vomit session. You get it all out. This happened and this happened and this happened. And there's a thing that you're like, I don't want to say it. And you say it or you don't say it. That's the first session. The second one is awkward. It's the second date. You're going back. You feel a little bit better because you finally spoke out loud some of this crap that you've been carrying around. You finally said, my husband sucks and I don't know what to do. I'm sick of my kids not liking me. That's the forward to the book. You haven't even started the book yet. The work comes, so what are we going to do now? Okay. Second session is usually context. Tell me how you grew up. Tell me about your past. Tell me how long you've been married. How did you meet? Why? All that kind of digging into stuff. It's uncomfortable. Doesn't feel like you're getting anywhere. You're building relationship with the counselor. You're practicing saying your needs out loud. You're practicing telling the truth out loud. Session 3 is when things get hard, usually. That's when you start getting more homework assignments. You may get like a timeline assignment or something like that, like put in the timeline here, or I want you to write down your list. You might get some of that stuff in the first couple of sessions. Session 3, session 4 is when you start doing the work. We're going to learn some breathing exercises because we got to talk about some hard stuff. We are going to practice going to the gym 3 times, whatever the thing might be that you and your therapist are working through. Go 3 or 4 times before you bail. And if you've never been before, expect it to be uncomfortable. Having surgery to get your knees fixed is uncomfortable. Getting shots when you're sick is uncomfortable. Healing is often uncomfortable. And when it comes to feelings and emotions, you just got to power through. It's not going to be comfortable. And that's the point. We do hard work in counseling so that we can breathe at home, so that we can have peace in our souls, peace in our living rooms, peace in our bedrooms, peace. It's hard. It's hard work. Talking about somebody hurting you and you're still married to them. Talking about how you let your kids down. It's hard. Talking about how your parents let you down and you still got to see them every Christmas, or you think you do. It's hard. It's hard. How your body failed you and you got sick. How you feel like your wife failed you because she got cancer. Like all those things. It's hard. Expect it to be challenging. Okay? Expect it to not, quote unquote, feel good all the time. In the new modern era, expect your counselor to challenge you. If you're a counselor, I've left counselors and psychologists before because they weren't challenging me. They just kept saying, how does that make you feel? My counselor now, whoo, she challenges me, pushes buttons, and I need that. I love that. And that's a new wave of therapy. And I'm so grateful that it's made its way into counseling rooms all across the country. You don't want an abusive person telling you, you can't believe that, and that's bullcrap. But you do need somebody pushing on you and challenging you appropriately, okay? So that's how to find a therapist. How to find a therapist. Listen, if you need somebody, call. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care what your job is. I don't care if you've been before and you got burned. Call. You are worth being well. So is your family. I love you guys.